Hello everyone, this is Pepper580, and today I'm gonna review The Legend of Zelda Skyward Sword. So, let's just get to it, okay? Right from the very beginning, the intro to the game, Skyward Sword, really gives you an in-depth story, narrated by one of the main characters in the game. This story tells about how the island where Link and Zelda live came to be, how did Skyloft come to be, and how did it got separated from the land below and got elevated over the clouds. During the intro, you're told that there was a time where the Demon King and the Demon Lords attacked with an army, attacked the people, the land. The land was ravaged. A lot of the places were completely destroyed. People got murdered. There was a lot of devastation during this time. This is actually one of the best intros I've ever seen. It can actually compare it to that of Wind Waker, and it actually can surpass it because the game itself develops on this story. Not only does it explain it, it also develops on it a little bit. But then we see this character here, the Goddess. The Goddess is supposed to be a woman, immortal woman, that has the great power granted by the goddesses, which is of course, we know it as the Triforce, but back then it was the ultimate power. This goddess was in charge of protecting that power, but she gave it a physical form and gave it to the humans. Afterwards, she gathered the remaining humans and sent them skyward in an outcropping of Earth, which is the island that is known as Skyloft. From that, we know something which is kind of important in the game. We know a very important part of the game, actually. We also get to see how she joined forces with the other living things. We see different races from what we've seen so far. We get the Parella, the Kikwi, we have the classic Gorons, we've got the Mothma, and we have robots. The humans and the Gorons are the only races that have not changed, actually. But afterwards, you get to see how demons were sealed and that kind of stuff. And then there is a touching phrase at the end of this intro. Everything is hidden away. There's nothing else known about the goddess or the land below. But here it is. It's bound to this great story. It's ready to be revealed. So you'll be forged, which will be forged by your own hand. This is a really touching line, and it really makes you want to play the game already. So with that, let's jump into the next important aspect of a game. The storyline. Of course, every game has a story, even if it's a crappy one or even if it doesn't develop. This game has a really strong story. It all begins up in Skyloft, and it's explained to you almost at the very beginning in the game what your objective is. This story, I don't know how I could organize it. I think it has like two plot twists, one at the very beginning and one in the middle, which is at first you have this important ceremony that is supposed to be kind of your exam. Link is actually a student at the Knight Academy in Skyloft. He's studying to become a knight and protect people up there. He's best friends with Zelda since very little kids. Actually, it's explained during this cutscene that's playing, actually, that Zelda was jealous of Link's bird when they first met. Of course, it's also explained that each person in Skyloft has its bird, and with that bird he can travel, and that bird is gonna be always with that person. Each person in Skyloft is one of a pair. It's a person and its bird. They're always together. They use the birds to transport for transportation and all that kind of stuff. You also see Zelda playing a harp. Actually, people called it a lyre for a long time, and I actually agreed for a long time. But then the game told me it's not a lyre, it's a harp. You also get the option to like you got 3 different options to answer to a lot of questions you're made in the game. With that, you see Zelda with the lyre, and you get introduced to Gaipora, which is who is Zelda's father. Gaipora and Zelda tell you about the ceremony and how the lyre, the harp, is important in the game. Of course, Zelda is kind of underconfident on Link because, of course, they know each other pretty well, and they've known each other for a long time. That's why she's underconfident. She thinks Link is not going to make it, and he's not going to win the ceremony, which is kind of a contest. With that, they start discussing a little bit. You really get to see character development throughout the game since the very beginning. Like, you see Zelda picking on Link, like right in front of him, telling he's not gonna make it, he has to practice, he has not done it. And you get an introduction to the characters, you get an introduction to Link's bird, who Gaipora introduces. He says about the first time Link and his bird met, how Link only jumped into his bird's back and just flew away with it without even having instruction. He just flew with it. Zelda was jealous of him that day, so you get to see a lot of reactions in between those two, in between Link and Zelda. And you actually get to see emotions out of them right from the very beginning. Sometimes you even get that glimpse of romance, but of course there's no kid without a bully. Later in the game, you're introduced to these 3: Groose, Calling, and Screech. These 3, Groose is kind of the leader of the little gang. He's always picking on Link. He's always like, he wants to be the best in what he does, but he knows that Link is better, and that's why he doesn't want Link to know. After a while, you find these 3, and they've got this kind of plan to kidnap your bird. So again, Groose starts picking on Link, and it's kind of a weird relationship in between those two during the game. You also get to see a lot of character development with Groose. Groose becomes one of the main characters in the game later on, and he really helps out. He really grows a lot. He actually goes to the surface with you at one point, and he decides to stay there to protect a certain person. If you mind the spoilers, which of course there's gonna be because it's a review, you actually get to see him protecting Impa, an older version of Impa. And well, you actually get to see a lot of character development throughout the game. That's what I love the most about it. Then, during this same cutscene, you get 3 options. You can say nice her, leave me alone, or I'll show you. Something like that. So he'll start saying, oh, you never let anyone forget you and Zelda go way back, blah blah blah. And then Zelda appears. Groose appears to have a crush, a giant crush on Zelda. Every time Zelda appears up in Skyloft, Groose is like, I don't know what to say. And then Zelda defends Link as the good friend she is. Groose is like surprised, of course, because he wants the attention. He wants Zelda's attention. But he's always frustrated by Link having the attention of that girl that he loves. So he's always trying to impress her, of course. Even at the beginning of the game, they're looking into the competition and they cheat. And even then, Groose tries to impress Zelda, whichever way it's possible. Then they go out like kind of a rude gang, just saying blah blah, we're gonna be better than you, you're gonna be failing a lot, and we're gonna be winning, so let's go. And they just go off to practice for the race. You actually get to see Zelda caring a lot more for Link than any other character inside of the game, aside of her father, of course. But then you know that your bird's lost. You don't find your bird at all, and that's how the story starts going and going and going. And at the end of the game, you really get to see these characters develop so much that they seem different persons completely, and they seem to be real persons. That is one of the main aspects in the game, and Nintendo completely nailed it. They got it. After you've been told that your bird is missing, you go to the Knight Academy, to the sparring hall in the Knight Academy, and you get your first sword. Of course, this is not the sword you'll be using throughout the game. This is a practice sword. But even though there's music that you'll be familiar with, you got the classic Zelda tune for getting an item, the thing, and you get your collection screen, you get a lot of stuff. The practice sword is the one you used back in the academy to practice, of course. And then you've got the combat system. The combat system is really nice, I gotta say. I didn't have any problem getting through with it. This timing is kind of the hardest thing to do, and it's not so hard to do as well, so you could pretty much tell by that. After completing this practice test, you'll be asked to do a spin attack, which you do by waving the Wii remote and the nunchuck at the same time. You can also do it vertically, and it's really neat though. During the game, you're forced to endure yourself and to examine your enemies carefully. The final boss also makes this, but it makes it harder because you have to actually use your shield and parry with it. It's kind of hard if you ask me sometimes, but if you've got it, you've got it. For the unexperienced people are the ones that don't play Zelda that much. There is the same implementation as in Ocarina of Time 3D. There's a Sheikah stone that will be up in Skyloft besides the sparring hall throughout the game. This stone is gonna have hints for the puzzles you've gotta solve. Of course, if you're playing in hero mode, everything is harder, but you'll get access to all the hints beforehand. The difference with hero mode is that you lose hearts twice as fast and there is no hearts at all in the world. Collectibles and the upgrade system. This is a really cool and new addition to the Zelda formula. It has never been implemented before in Zelda, but this time Nintendo decided to do it. You get your collectibles throughout beating enemies up, catching bugs and stuff, and you can take it all to the bazaar. Whenever you get to the bazaar, you can upgrade your gear, fix your shields, you can buy potions and upgrade them. And then you've got this. You can upgrade your shields, you can upgrade your items, you can upgrade your bow, your slingshot, you can upgrade a lot of things. And it takes no more than 10-20 rupees to upgrade something at first. It's a really nice addition to the game, and you get better items and they've got better durability. The main mechanic to transport yourself back in Skyloft is flying. After a while, you get your bird back in Skyloft, and you're going to be tested again. You're sent directly into a tutorial for how to fly. Of course, during this part of the game, it's important to notice that this game is the best of all the Zelda games released up to date. So it kind of mixes up what we saw with Epona and also mixes up what we saw in Wind Waker with the King of Red Lions. Right here in this cutscene, you get to see how Link and his Crimson Loftwing get along really well. So during this first part of the game, you'll have a little bit of a hard time getting used to the controls. That's why the tutorial asks you to not leave until you're completely sure you've got the controls down. So the first time you go flying, you get a very nice cutscene of Link going down into the sky, and then you call your bird, only to see the bird flying down and Link catching up with it. It's really amazing to see this. The first times I did this, I really enjoyed it a lot. I felt kind of emotion at the same time because you actually get to feel this game. It's not any kind of game. This game is actually, it makes the game kind of complete or make a bond with you. You actually feel what the game is telling you. You actually feel what the game is trying to get a hold of you. What the game is trying to tell you. And so you really feel that kind of excitement when you jump and call your bird for the first time. Even so much more if you're excited for a game, because this is like in the first hour of gameplay, first hour and a half. So you really get the excitement feeling when you jump down, call your bird, and there's your bird. So of course afterwards you've got the flying tutorial. During this flying tutorial you get to see how you do everything, how you maneuver and stuff. You control your bird with your controls, with your Wii remote, because of course this game supports the Wii Motion Plus system. To make your bird go up, you just wave your controller up and down. You can tilt it down for your bird to go faster and down. You can press A to actually go faster. But then you get tested, you get really tested during the ceremony. There is this ceremony that was talked about in the beginning of the game, the wing ceremony. There's a little kind of special thing about this ceremony, of course. In the speech that this professor makes during his speech at the beginning of the race, you get the message. This is the Academy's 25th anniversary, so of course you are complete. They make sure you don't forget this game is made to celebrate Zelda's 25th anniversary. Since the very beginning of the game, there is a cutscene that says The Legend of Zelda 25th anniversary, and then you get this little reference. It is a special thing, actually. They made this to commemorate 25 years of Zelda, and they mixed up together everything from Zelda, the best of Zelda, into this same game. Now, during this ceremony, this was a demo back in the E3 2011. So you've gotta make your way and grab the yellow bird. What the yellow bird has in its paw, in its claws. It's called a bird statuette. It's really simple the first time, but after a while, of course, the other guys that are competing with you are all the bullies. So they got told, if I catch you doing something bad, it's gonna cost you a lot, and you're going down. So at the middle of the race, you're winning, and when they notice that they start attacking you, they'll throw eggs at you. They will try to roam into you if you're close to the bird. It's really exciting. It's kind of a competition, of course, kind of a school ambience, because you see the bullies trying to make you lose whenever you're close to winning. But in the end, Link wins his bird statuette. He wins the competition, and he gets to make the ritual after the ceremony with Zelda, who is playing the role of the goddess during the ceremony. It's a lot. There's a lot of scenes with Link and Zelda in kind of romantic situations, just like this one. Well, is there a romance in the game? Really? Nintendo made an excellent job with this. You don't get to actually see romance during the game, but it's completely hinted. After the ceremony is when the ceremony is about to end, you're asked if you know how does it end. Whichever of the responses you choose, you'll get kind of the same cutscene. This is the part where everyone got confused and thought there was romance. But guess what? Nintendo completely tricked us. There's no romance in this part, guys. I'm sorry, but Nintendo actually makes a very good job doing this. There's a lot of hints with the romance between Link and Zelda. But of course, there's nothing confirmed. Nintendo is god at hiding things from us. But there goes Link again. During the game, though, there is a part where Zelda extremely hints at Link that she has to talk to Link about something. Afterwards, they're interrupted by the giant tornado that completely sucks Zelda and her lovebird down into the surface. Link manages to escape, barely escape. Then Zelda is struck down, so is her lovebird, and Link is sent back. This makes what I think it is the first plot twist, and it goes into the events of the Goddess Sword and the character known as Fi. Fi is a character that will accompany you throughout the game. She is the one that tells you about the intro of the game, and she's also the kind of robotic figure that fits into your sword. It's the mysterious figure that we got to see in the art back in the teaser art back in E3 2008, I think. 2000, yeah, I think E3 2008. So she introduces herself as Vi, and she tells you that you must carry on with a burdenous destiny. So the really cool part about this is you get to actually free the sword off the pedestal by yourself. You do it by yourself, and then you put it up like as if you were like the same Link. Charge up Skyward Strike, as it's called in this game, the laser beam, the beam attack, and you get the Godess sword, which is the sword that you will be operating throughout the game and make it the true master sword. After a while, you are told in the same place that Zelda is in the surface now. Zelda has talked to you about this in the past, about her father's texts that talk about the surface and how it is linked to the myths that are talked about in Skyloft. With that, Gaipora is completely surprised that all of this is true, but at the same time, he wants to find his daughter. Link wants to find his friend. Whatever it takes, he wants to find his friend, and so he decides to go into the surface, search for Soul. With that, you get introduced to the first mechanic of the game. You're gonna be collecting some kind of tablets that will open ways back into the surface world, and you have to go back to the statue of the goddess where you got your goddess sword, and you have to put the tablet up. This is the first time too that you get introduced to the Skyward Strike as it is. You are required to actually do a Skyward Strike in order to put the tablet down in place so that you can go to the surface's first area, which is Farron Woods. With that, you only have to raise your sword and then slash after the sword is charged up. This is a really good mechanic and is well implemented in the game. Of course, whenever your controller is a little bit off, or you feel like it, you can go into first-person view by clicking the C button, and then you just press down on your D-pad, and with that, you're done. After placing the tablet down, you get a little nice cutscene of how does it happen that the clouds people have never gone below the clouds, because there is a giant barrier that they cannot go through. So instead of going through the clouds, there's gonna be an opening, and with that you get to the surface world. The first place you visit while going to the surface world is Farron Woods. The cutscene where Link drives down into the surface is completely awesome. You get this sense of complete unawareness of where you're going. You're going into a new world, literally. You don't know anything about it, and you just want to explore it like that. It's really exciting. Like these kinds of things, these details that Nintendo puts into it, are really amazing. How Nintendo fulfills that. It's completely awesome. At some points, it can be kind of annoying at some points that whenever you get to a new area, Vi pops up and says, "Oh well, I'm here to tell you about what this place is, what is its name, and how does it work." There's that, I don't know how much probability of the Zelda being here, but then it's really neat. The only thing that did annoy me at times is that whenever you visit a new area, after the little cutscene that introduces you to it, like it's really neat and everything. I love the little cutscenes and all. But after that, you automatically open your map, and there's a little animation where the map colors up. That is nice. But then the developers felt the urge to zoom in, and then turn around in the direction of the compass so that you're facing north. So that the north is not the north, but you know what I'm talking about. With that, it's kind of annoying, but it's really nice. Afterwards, you get introduced to kind of the same thing that was on Link's dreams back in Skyloft. It's a dark force that is down in the surface, actually, which is part of the great destiny that Fi was talking about back when she told Link about the Godess sword. Link has been dreaming about this creature for not so long, but he has been dreaming about this creature. This creature actually represents the final boss in the game after being sealed. I'm not gonna spoil what the final boss in the game is, but it's really hard to face, it is really powerful, and it actually takes a lot into consideration. It answers a lot of questions about later on in the games, about Ganondorf himself, he comes to be in Ocarina of Time, according to the timeline thing, which I'm not gonna be getting into, but you get these cutscenes and you really get the feel of this game. You really are introduced into a lot of things, and I do think this game has to be the ultimate Zelda made up to date. So the overall grade for the game I give is 9.8, just because of a single little problem. Fi is quite underdeveloped through the game. Even though at the end it's not like that, Fi is quite underdeveloped at the and in the end, at the end of the game she is failing, but for everything else it's really good. Even though she's quite underdeveloped throughout the entire game, at the end she feels, actually, she's kind of robotic. She was created by the Godess, but at the end of the game she feels, and she's actually attached to Link, and it's really difficult to see her part. But that's spoilers, and I'm not gonna get into spoilers. And, well, so let's just leave it at she's underdeveloped, but the rest of the game is majestic. The story, the character's development, how Groose comes to understand what he is and what role he has to play. The Link's attachment and to Zelda, and Zelda's attachment to Link, the emotions they demonstrate throughout the game, it's really amazing, and it makes this game really unique. If you have not bought this game, go right now, buy it. I really recommend it. It's an excellent game. All in all, it's an excellent game. I really recommend it, and well, you've got my word and guarantee. This has been Pepper Favedi, and I'm signing out. Peace.